Senator, let me come straight to you. When did you personally realize that climate change, as opposed to some of the other environmental challenges that we have faced as a planet, when did you realize that climate change was and is a reality to which enormous political and economic priority would have to be given?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the privilege of being with you today, and thank you for the work you're doing. I shared a little bit of this with the group that I'm here with a few minutes ago, but I first became awakened to this challenge back in 1988 when then Senator Al Gore and we were classmates. We came to the United States Senate together in 1985. And in 1988, as members of the Commerce Committee, we held the first hearing on this issue of climate change in the Senate. And Jim Hansen, at that hearing, pronounced on behalf of NASA and their work that we were, in fact, in a period of global warming, that it had begun, and the alarm bells began to be sounded. And then subsequently, Senator Gore and I and another group of senators, as you mentioned, went to Rio in 1992 for the Framework Conference. And I have attended many of the COPs, Conference of the Parties, since then. I was in Kyoto, helped with those negotiations. I managed the Kyoto Treaty on the floor of the Senate for a brief period of time when we were unable to move forward because of the absence of a global participation and the sort of parochial resistance people had to doing something without other people doing it too. And then, of course, we've gone on to Bali and Poznan, and I was at both of those conferences. So this has been really a 20-plus year odyssey for me. And I was just sharing with the people here, I share with your folks there, the urgency of this is greater than ever. My conviction is greater than ever. My commitment to moving this forward is significant because I understand that this is a national security issue for all of us, a global security issue, as well as an economic issue for most of us in the face of a recession and the need to transform our economies. But this has been, I think this is the moment leading up to Copenhagen, and the fact is that I think that here in the Senate, we are working very, very hard. We are meeting a group of senators, a meeting every single week. We are targeting our colleague senators. We are working to build on what the House of Representatives will do. I believe we will have a cap-and-trade energy bill combined that will come from the House of Representatives in May or June. And then the United States Senate will undertake that effort even as we continue to negotiate going into Copenhagen.
I think that there will be few in this auditorium here in Paris, Senator, who would not say amen to a lot of what you have just said about awareness. But I think that equally, and I would appreciate hearing your candid views on this. Why is it that so many of us here outside the United States have the impression that America has been really slow to get it on this issue, despite all of the hard work that you personally and people like Vice President Gore have put in over the years?
Well, you have the impression because it's true.
I was being polite.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being polite. The fact is that the United States has been negligent on this issue. I'm not saying something to people abroad that I haven't said here at home. We have been remarkably irresponsible over the course of the last 8 years. And many of us have been fighting as hard as we know how, but we didn't control the Senate or the House. So we literally did not have the right to set a hearing, decide who the witnesses would be, or set the agenda on the floor of the House or Senate. Now we do. And now we have already passed some $80 billion that are going into our economy with incentives for clean and alternative energy, renewable energy, for new vehicles, vehicle standards, other kinds of things. We're trying to make up for the indifference of the last 8 years. But we have a long way to go, and I will tell you, we still have some resistance.
Are you therefore... Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Okay, continue. But let me just, if I can just break in and stay in on really very much focused in the same place. But are you now optimistic or pessimistic, given that you do have this current strength both in Congress and, of course, in the White House? The thinking is in tune between those two great institutions. Can we be optimistic, or do we have to be pessimistic, particularly as we remember that the Democratic grip on Congress may not always last forever?
Well, please. You've already treaded on thin ice here, and now you're suggesting we won't last forever. That's terrible. No, you're absolutely correct, and we have to take advantage of this moment, obviously. The simple answer is I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because you can't get up in the morning and go to work and do this if you don't remain optimistic. And secondly, there's reason to be optimistic. Things are changing. I talked to Al Gore the other day. He's already involved in raising and spending money for advertising as we come into this fight. I'm involved with a group called the American Security Project, which is going to be involved in highlighting the national security implications of this issue. We have a growing grassroots movement in the country that is going to be mobilized over the course of the summer. I think you're going to see a level of political activity and of engagement on this, such as we haven't seen in a long time. But more importantly, I was about to say a moment ago, I was in Spain a couple of weeks ago at a 4-day conference of the Aspen Institute, and we had a group of senators there who were not your usual suspects. And they were really searching for answers as to how you do cap and trade with minimal fraud or abuse. How do you structure the marketplace? How do you do this in a way that isn't so expensive that your consumers are going crazy because of the rise in price and so forth? And all of those questions are answerable. The fact is that the studies show that while, yes, prices of fuel may go up, and there may be a higher cost of some energy in terms of the per unit of that energy, the fact is that overall cost to the consumer will go down because of the investments in the new technologies and the savings and conservation and the new options that they'll have. So while the price may be higher, that is not a reflection of out-of-pocket expenses that the consumers are going to face.